right, man. I do believe we're live.
Boom. Well, hey, this is episode 60 of the Help Find the Others podcast. And this is, we're continuing with the live stream format when it's just Stan and I. But yeah, man, how you doing?
I'm doing great, dude. I am doing wonderful. How about yourself?
Oh, yeah. It's been doing pretty good since my, you know, first mushroom trip of 2020.
Yeah.
And so you recently had your first trip of 2020, so this is a we wanted to get on the episode and just let you go through that and talk about it, man. So yeah, why don't you dive into it?
Yeah, man. So, it was a doozy. Like, there's no, there's no denying that it was a doozy. Um, I committed to it early in the week. I took it on a Sunday, and I committed to it on. I think I texted you on maybe like a Tuesday or something like that, if I recall correctly. And it was just I won't don't want to say it's random, but I was planning on being out in nature and uh, you know getting the full experience, if you will, of not being in a major city. So I guess it was kind of out of the blue, but I saw my opportunity, and I had a weekend to myself, a long weekend to myself, and um, like my girlfriend was super supportive of it, and she was like, "No, this is the right time. Like if you feel like it's the right time, it is the right time. You don't have to line up all the ducks. You can just go for it. So I was home on Sunday. I didn't do any of the prep work that I normally had done before, where it was like meditate beforehand or eat clean beforehand. The only thing I didn't do was I avoided coffee
Hmm.
right before or day of. Sorry, I avoided caffeine day of because I've had mushroom experiences where I've had coffee the same day or caffeine intake, and it's like it makes the ups feel great, but it
Yeah.
also I feel like it increases the downs of the trip. Um, so yeah, so I guess we'll just get into it, man. I was trying to figure out what dose to take, and I actually wanted to say thank you to you because you've kind of convinced me to go above the 3 gram threshold. Um, I was not opposed to it, but I guess my intuition was kind of looking for a way out of taking over 3 grams. Like it was like, yeah, this is going to be kind of scary, right? So when I texted you and I said, I have the place for myself, you're like, oh, perfect. You should definitely take more than 3 grams, and like that now is the time to do that. So I was like, all right, I'll do that, and I took 3.2 grams, and um, how I arrived to that conclusion was I was reading articles about the studies being done using psilocybin mushrooms in a controlled setting, and after long periods of review and long term effects review, meaning like 6 months on, the one dose that had, I think it was 78% and above claim of positive long term result was the 3.2 gram. I'll have to find the
Yeah.
documentation on that again, but it was the same guy that created the music playlist for Johns Hopkins, who is a major doctor that's been a part of that whole um, proof, I guess, or like all the trials that have going on, and the laws that are changing. So I trusted, the statistics there, and I took 3.2 grams. I ate them just by themselves. Oh, before I ate them, I did take your advice as well. I took Phenibut, and it's funny because the Phenibut didn't really do much on the physical realm. Like I didn't really notice its effects, but I think it gave me the push to take the mushrooms.
Oh
If you
yeah.
catch my
Yeah.
drift, like if it gave me
Yeah.
the confidence to go in, you know,
Yeah. Exactly.
um, and I needed that. It gave me the
Yeah.
push, and I needed that. And it like after I took it, I don't think it really affected me that much, but to get me to the point where I took it, it did wonders.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I did that. Uh, did that at 2 o'clock, I believe, or sorry, at noon, and it takes a long time to kick in. So fasted, took that, had a light breakfast beforehand, um, and then I took the mushrooms right at 4 o'clock. I think it was like 4:10. Took a shower right after I took them. That's kind of something that I've done in the past, and it's been nice just to like get all the shit off you, you know.
Yeah.
And my plan was to listen to John Hopkins' playlist that's published in a ton of different articles and is on Spotify if anybody's listening. I'll throw it in the description later on. So I did that once before, and I wanted to do it with a larger dose. So I did that, um, and it was wild. Like I I put the eye shade on, set the like I made the bed. I was complete darkness, eye shade on, headphones on, complete dark. Like it's just the cat was the only thing in the room with me. Um, Candle going, pictures of my family next to me. I tried to make it as clinical as I could of a setting because I was going in with uh, things I wanted to work on. You know, I didn't want to have it be a party dose or anything like that. So I tried to take it as serious as I could, and it was fucking crazy, man. Like the come up was unlike any come up I've had before. Uh, it's the first part that I recall that was like this the sign that the mushrooms were kicking in, other than music obviously being powerful, was all these flashes of like gratitude coming into my life. And I feel like the mushroom kind of does this thing where it's like, hey, we're about to show you some crazy shit, but beforehand we got to show you all these things that you love and you're grateful for, you know, like before we send you down some weird tunnels, we need to get you in check here and be like, hey man, be happy you have all this because who knows what's coming next, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So just a ton of gratitude for my girlfriend, especially my girlfriend, man. um, but family, definitely family as well. But just really clarified things from about my girlfriend, any questions I had about that. um, and and then I guess I was off, you know. And the what's incredible about that music, man, the playlist, is that I was worrying when to start it. I was like, so are you supposed to eat it and then start the playlist? Are you supposed to wait till you feel effects and start the playlist? So I started until I waited until I felt effects. Um, and it's like instrumental, choral, orchestra music made by composers, and not a lot of vocal. There's no words, at least until the end of the playlist. And I I just I'm trying to think here. It's hard to recall everything, but I after the gratitude part, and I'm still missing a lot because there's a lot that's in between the gaps of remembering, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, I mean, it'll come back to you for the next like 2 years. You'll be like, oh, and that, and that. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so after the gratitude part, it kind of got a hold of me and like started showing me different emotions. Like I should have brought my I don't have my notebook on me, but I wrote my intentions, and it was like I think the ones that I highlighted the most was like get out of my head and into my body, and get get out of my head and like into living and like into life. Like I spent so much time thinking and like anxiety and all that, that I was like, I need this trip to get out of that and reconnect with my body fully. um and so anyways, it like introduced me to emotion again. Like I haven't had strong emotion, even in the way that I talk or like carry myself. And it started to reintroduce those things to my life, and it was this music, man. The composer of this song, I never understood instrumental like orchestral music until this trip. And it hit me so hard, man. I could I got sent to what I could only describe as the the outside this guy's window as he was writing this piece of music.
Wow.
And it was just like a guy with like the white wig, you know, like the stereotypical white wig.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like he put like 10, it's to me it felt like he put like a decade's worth of experience into the crescendos of the song that mimic his pain. And like it was so powerful.
Yeah.
um and so that was an incredible experience. I have a newfound appreciation for that type of music. But each song at some point felt like it took half an hour, even though it was like a 3 minute track. It was definitely multiplied by 10 in my brain. Um, so I so at one point after that, like then it started getting really intense, like, and the music mimicked the intensity. It was like there's one song that was just choral voices, and it was so like powerful, and like because it's just in between my ears, so it's like it felt like it was like pressing my head in almost type of thing. um and there's this one track on that playlist that just completely mind fucked me, and it was like dun 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 type song where it's like you're being introduced to this royal thing, like I knew something was coming type of vibe. And I was like,
Yeah.
wait, is this just because I'm listening to this music right now, like, or is it because of the mushrooms, or is it both, like whatever. So I took the headphones off and left the eye shade on, and it was still happening. So I was like, all right, we're going back in with the music or whatever. And at this point, like the craziest part of this trip, or one of the craziest parts, was like I saw this infinite loop of black and white glowing. It was like a tube. It was like a snake eating itself type of thing. I can't really describe it other than that because it's a common image. But it was just a huge, basically an infinity sign of glowing hieroglyphs spinning in infinity. Um,
Hmm.
and I don't know what to make of that. I don't think I know. I don't think I'm ever going to know what to make of that until I meet it again. It's going to be one of those things that I
Right.
feel like that's an
Yeah.
afterlife type of thing.
Yeah. You'll see it
Uh,
again. You'll remember it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So after that, man, the music was so powerful that I like started like pleading. Like it was too much for me, man. Like I was like, please, like I can't help. Like I need help. Like please, I can't do this anymore. I can't do it. I even like tried to get up, and like the room was going crazy that I was in. I like tried to change the song to something positive, but the fractals on the computer were amazing. Like when you're on like a screen capturing service and you put the window that's capturing the screen on the screen that's capturing, if that makes
Yeah.
sense, and it just goes
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
infinity. It was just doing that. So changing the song was not a thing that could happen. Um, so I was just like, all right, I'm taking my headphones off, and like I can't do the music anymore. So I'm taking the headphones off, and or sorry, before I took the headphones off, I've been carrying a lot of pressure in my jaw. Like I consistently clench my jaw before this. I had my jaw like always being clenched, man. It was bad. And like subconsciously doing it, or unconsciously doing it, just going with it. And like I've been noticing it leading up, and like all the tension was being held there. And I was still clenching my jaw, but I was just like, oh, maybe this is just a thing. You know how people say like when you're tripping, chew gum or have something like it's more so for acid, but like you'll be like jawing. So all this tension was in my jaw, and like I remember opening my jaw up all the way, and it was hard to do. It was like it felt like there was weight to it and like pressure pushing back, and like I opened up as far as I could, and this is where it gets really trippy. I opened it up as far as I could, and it felt like, and it just stayed open, and it felt like things were leaving me and things were coming into me, like, but it was just air. But like
Huh.
there was something else there in my mind at that point in time, um, and then it just went dead silent, and because I had no music on, I just had the eye shades on, and I was just like in complete silence, and I thought there was some like weird dental work being going on, but I don't know, like, but I feel it felt like that. Like I didn't feel any pain or whatever, but it felt like what it was like to be in a dentist chair is the best
Huh.
way to put it. And it was weird because that happened right after I tried to get out of bed, right? So when I landed back down in bed, either my thought or a voice or whatever you want to say was like, whoa, we almost lost him there. Like, meaning like it wasn't time for me to get up yet, you know? And I did. So I'm happy I laid back down. Um, And so that all happened. I don't know how long that took, but it was dead silence. It was uh, I'm trying to think what movie it is, but there's a movie that has the sound I was hearing, and it's just like a light mechanical whirring, and just it's like a white noise of whir, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
And so that happened, and then when that was done, I when I closed my jaw, like my jaw was so used to being open, and I was so used to having it open that it felt like me coming back into my body was occurring when I closed my jaw. It was felt
Wow.
like it was the first time I'd closed my jaw ever, and
Wow.
like there was pressure in the closing of it, and then it was like, and when I bit down, it like solidified my skull, and
Huh.
I was back,
Wow.
and um, I stood up then to, and I was like, okay, oh, and this part's kind of crazy, but uh, it's weird because we grasp for different things that we've seen in like culture and media to try to explain what we are going through because that's kind of our
Yeah.
only way of doing it. And I can only explain this as the like Neo. It's so cliche, and it feels weird saying it, but Neo waking up out of the sleeper cell. Um, and because after that occurred, I was like, okay, I'm gonna put the music back on. And when I put the music back on, it was still on some intense composition that I just couldn't do. I was just like, I'm past this point, I'm not trying
Yeah.
to go
Yeah.
back. And and well, let me go back because there's one more thing that came up that's personal, very personal to me, but I don't mind sharing, um, on something I need to work on. And like,
Hmm.
I need to find somebody that can help me with integration because there was a point where I kept asking, like, what what you are showing, why are you showing me it? I was like, why are you showing me this? Like, why is this pertinent or whatever? And it took me to this point, like, where I was clutching the two pictures that I had next to my bed, which was me and my girlfriend, and then me and my brothers, and I had them on my chest, and like my heart was like aching, man, and like I was like showing my heart, like trying to give my hearts or something, and like I was clutching the photos, and then I would, whenever I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, I felt super primal, and I felt like I was holding two bars of cage.
Huh.
So I need to go and figure out what that is because at that moment in time I wanted to just like scream as loud as I could, but I couldn't because I don't want to bother the neighbors. Like I was still there. I was still
Yeah.
there enough to be like, all right, I don't need anybody calling anyone for me. Because it would have been a primal fucking yell.
Yeah, and you may have too, man. I've had moments of that where you can't tell if you were yelling or if
Dude,
you were afraid
yes.
to yell. You know,
Yes.
like I've had that where like when you come out of one of the waves, you're like, I had to be yelling during that. Like that was
Yeah.
so fucking intense. How was I not making noise? You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, so I mean,
And
you may
dude,
have.
for me too, it was just like, wait, if I yell right now, am I gonna be yelling, or is the person that I have in my head right now gonna be yelling
Right,
too? Like
right,
I
yeah.
didn't know, but I didn't want to, I couldn't take the risk for some reason. And like it was weird because there was this one part where I was seeing something magnificent happening in front of me, but there was a gray film in front of it that was either like you'll see this later, potentially when you die, I guess, or like once you have the courage to yell, you'll see this type of thing. That's at least what I got from that. Um, but I need to find something to help me to integrate with that because, like, to me, that was a huge part. Like, I didn't know I had that like primal anger within me. I'm a pretty
Yeah,
chill guy, so I was like, I need to find out what the root of that is and make amends with it.
yeah,
But I'm happy because it showed me that instead of just making me feel the emotion.
yeah.
Um, so, anyways, I after the dental thing, like I tried to go back into the music. The music wasn't happening, so I was like, all right, I need to go outside. I need a change of environment. And I tried to change the song first, but then I was just like, no, fuck this. Threw my headphones off, closed my laptop, and it felt like I was like unplugging. And that was like the Neo moment to me. Was like throwing off the technology and being like, nope, like you like be grateful. Like one thing that kept coming up early on was like, you be incredibly happy and grateful that you took these mushrooms and you made it here, because that is the
Yeah.
hardest part. And like that was one of the things that came up a ton.
Yeah, man.
So when I
Yeah.
took off the headphones, it was like, be grateful that you listened to the playlist and you made it halfway through. Obviously, I couldn't make it to the end, but you made it halfway through, and you made it to the tough parts, kind of thing. And when I took it off, it felt like I was like unplugging from the ongoing thought that's always going in my mind, spinning and distracting me from what's actually in front of me. And so that's kind of what it felt like, to just unplug and come back into my body. And
Yeah.
but it was funny because when I went to go outside, there's like a hallway that connects my entire apartment. So I made it out of the bedroom, went down the hallway, and like it was like I was in a brand new body, and I just fell onto the ground and laid on the floor face down for like an hour listening to positive music and like things that like brought me slowly back into reality. I texted my girlfriend, she like sent me some songs that like just were perfect in the moment for some crazy way how that works out, um,
Yeah.
and then I did some yoga, and eventually I made my way to the park, man, and I made my way outside, and since then, dude, it's been really good, man. Like, and obviously I'm still in the afterglow of it all. Um, but I do think there's some permanent changes that are going to occur, and that have occurred. And I also feel as if, with the help of an integration specialist, I can kind of conquer some of the fears I went in trying to conquer and accomplish some of the goals I went in trying to accomplish. And dude, it was just awesome, man.
Yeah.
And like, what's crazy is how much more powerful that experience was over my 5 gram experience. And I've been thinking a
Yeah.
lot about that, because the 5 gram experience, all it did for me was throw me in there and just say, oh, good luck. Like, I was not prepared.
Hmm.
And a lot of that was my fault, probably, because I threw
Yeah.
myself in there. But the 3.2 gave me a clear direction to point my compass towards, and gave me clear uh, things to work on, where I hadn't had that
Hmm.
necessarily before from a mushroom trip. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, man, I think that's it. I mean, more stuff obviously is still coming as I continue. Like you said, the 2 year thing, I totally agree with that. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, things are awesome, man. Things are awesome right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, I definitely, give you props for like you planned it out well, man.
Yeah,
Your prepping led to a perfect set and setting,
yeah,
and I'm glad to hear the Phenibut helped. I think you nailed it perfectly as to how it helps. It doesn't get in the way.
yeah,
It gives you the courage. It gives you the courage, and I think it's great for that. And that's going to be a thing that I use and will recommend going forward with mushrooms. Um, but yeah, dude, I like it's really cool your story about I'll call that the thing with your jaw, the dentist appointment, as you said. Yeah, I'll throw that in the bin with being a psychic surgery
yes,
experience, and that's pretty cool, dude. Like I don't think I've had that. I've had like I've had moments where parts of my body and my feeling of them was odd and or they've seemed broken or misshapen or whatever. But I've never felt like anything was doing anything to make that better. It was just weird. It's just my weird perception of my legs or
yeah,
uh stuff like that. Yeah, I had I think I mentioned it in my heroic dose video, but like I was trying to make myself throw up and was like sticking my hand in my mouth and like totally felt like I was like had my hand all the way in my stomach. Like it felt like that, like
yeah, yeah.
but that was someone else doing that to me. So it's like, and I have another friend who
I remember that story from your friend. Yeah,
yeah, I hope to have him on sometime, but he had a vision where a gorilla took him, like led him down to some beach and then performed surgery on him or whatever. But he took more. He took, like, the vision may have been stronger because he took more. But I think like that happens with mushrooms, and to what level we perceive it is dependent on the dose. And I think, yeah, 3.2 is at that threshold to where like you could perceive whatever the fuck spirits or whatever we're observing when there's a psychic surgery event. I think that happens, and that is observable through science. I think that's what happens with like the neurogenesis that goes on, that
Yes.
they're able to actually detect. There is something in the mushrooms that repairs us, and if you take 30 grams, you know exactly what it is. If you take 3, you sense that it's there. If you take 7, you actually see them. Whatever, I don't know, but I think that just happens, and I think that's I think you'll see going forward, the problems you've had with your jaw will probably not be there.
Mm-hmm.
That will go away.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and I mean, the
you know,
thing for me too is like it's brought attention to it. So it's like in the past where it was like I would just chalk it up to having too much caffeine, or something silly like that, where it's definitely ended up being much more, and ended up being, no, you're carrying like your baggage in your jaw. And
yep,
it's like, so
yeah,
now whenever you're tensing your jaw, or another thing is like sticking your tongue to the roof of your mouth. That was another thing.
yeah,
It's like just pay mind to that and undo it, and
yeah.
that's basically a meditation.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Start exploring that and being aware of that.
Hmm.
And, I think, and I mean, honestly, it could be attached to the other urge you were feeling to let the primal out, that, perhaps, uh, what the mushroom was telling you there was like, you let this out and your jaw won't be tight. That's the energy you're holding it in your jaw.
Hmm.
You need to let it out. I could see that. I've had moments of that for sure. Realizations of like, no, you're bad. Well, I mean, one thing when the trip I talked about with my friend Sean that came on,
Hmm.
um, like uh, I was having a really bad pain with my back leading up to that, and the mushroom made it worse. And I felt why. I felt the tension and the anxiety and the all the shit. And he had the same thing. He felt in his nose. He felt like a hook was in his nose, and he ended up having to have surgery for a deviated septum, and it changed his life, like his health and stuff. So the mushrooms tell us that. They tell us like,
Yeah.
hey, focus on this, because otherwise you keep ignoring it, it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And so whether it's a spirit fixing it when we have these experiences, or whether it's you're accessing your subconscious and being like,
Yeah.
hey, well, I'm worried about the fucking cable bill, why don't you work on the jaw thing, dude? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So um but yeah, dude, that's and I love what you said about the dosage too. Like, because that's another thing. Like, yeah, my first video was talking about 5 grams, but what I don't talk about enough in that experience is the that I took like 3.5, an eighth, like 4 or 5 days before that,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't talk about that trip enough because it was completely overshadowed by the heroic dose. But I took that, and I didn't try to make it as serious as you did, with a playlist and stuff like that. It was a lot more of my standard fucking, listening to Grateful Dead or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
or
No, that's fine.
Pink Floyd. But still, it was super, super emotional and attached to the music. It just happened to be different music than what you were listening to,
Yeah.
and really getting like, there's one thing too, like you were listening to mostly instrumental music. When you listen to music with words, like you get caught up in that
Yep.
narrative, and that directs your visions and stuff. But you attach your own self to those experiences and that narrative,
Yeah. Yeah.
and start to be like living out. There was a time in you start thinking about like times in your life that were similar to what the lyrics are saying, and kind of riff off of that in your inner visions. But I definitely I didn't know that about Johns Hopkins. Like the 3.2 was like the dose that they determined being the threshold
Hmm.
basically. But I believe it, man.
Yeah.
And I think it's enough to where like uh, 2.5, in between 2.5 and 3.2, can get kind of scary for some people because it's not enough.
Yes. Yes.
Like it's more than a party dose, but it's not enough and you're like stuck. To where I could definitely see 3.2s like over the hump.
Yeah.
You know.
No, dude, it was amazing. And like something else I forgot to mention about the come up process that was so beautiful was like I was able to slip out of. I'm just so grateful right now for this community because it's so easy to come out of these experiences questioning your sanity,
Oh
and
yeah.
having a community like we do and these things becoming more normalized and somebody hearing my story and finding legitimacy to it, is awesome because
Yeah.
um, you leave this world and you enter a new one, so anything can kind of happen type of thing. But when I was slipping in out of this world, it felt so good, man. It was like, oh, I forgot none of this shit matters. Like, it was like,
Yeah.
dude, none of this shit matters. I was like, obviously, like, you got to pay your bills, all that shit, but like at the end of the day, none of this matters. Like, work on spend time with your family. Like, so my previous trip was the a big thing that stuck with me was like how you spend your time is the most valuable thing. Like, that is the most valuable thing. And then this one, it came out with like what you use your heart, how you use your heart, and like what you put your heart into is the most valuable thing. So I think those two things tied together is like the perfect thing for me. Is like, use your heart and use your time wisely together, and that will bring about like the best fruits, I guess you could say, type of thing. So to me, that's like
Yeah.
friends, family, girlfriend, loved ones, all that, and passion projects as well. But the slipping out of this world into that world felt so good, man, and like it was
Yeah.
long needed. Like, the last time I've had an experience where I've hit that point was 3+ years ago. Um, but Amy in the live chat asked if it was a day or a night trip. I took it at 4 p.m. with the goal of going to the sunset at, I think, late 7, early, like 7:50, 8 o'clock, and I couldn't get out until, I think, I left at 8. So good thing is that the park has a view of the city, so it's well lit, and I just went there. But the funny thing is, I sat down and just laid in the grass and enjoyed it. Put some music on and was texting people and letting people know I was all right. And like a storm just came in immediately, and like thunderstorm and
Huh.
like heavy torrential downpour, and everybody running out and everything. And then it's just me like walking in pouring rain, like let my hair out. And I was like, this is almost like the perfect wash away of the day. It was crazy how it was,
Yeah,
dude.
man. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. It's hard to like plan that, but I've definitely had tripping in the rain stuff that it's fucking awesome. Like I had it at Bonnaroo Music
Yeah.
Festival, and like I was like barefoot with my shirt off, like in the rain and the mud and stuff like that. Like it was fucking epic. But unfortunately, that trip ended with like down was like I'm covered in porta potty runoff and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
but other than that, the moment of like being in the rain is awesome.
Oh yeah, man. And like, there's a Bob Marley quote that's always stuck with me. Is like, I'm gonna paraphrase it horribly, but it's like, how can I trust you if you hide from the rain with an umbrella or something? Like, if you go out to the sun when you want to catch a tan, but you hide from the rain with an umbrella, something like that. And like,
Yeah.
that's always stuck with me. So when I'm in the rain, I like try to embrace the rain.
Oh yeah.
As long
Yeah.
as I'm
Yeah.
not going somewhere I need to be
Yeah.
not doused. But that stuck with me. So in the moment, I was like, "Fuck it, I'm taking off my sandals. I'm gonna enjoy this, man." And it was pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, the walk there was a bit odd. Like, we talked about it a little bit before stream, but I live in a major metropolitan area, and like I live in an area where rent is pretty cheap, and just on my walk there, I kind of saw like the ugly side of my community. I saw it for what it was. At night it's not the safest place to be, and I'm all right with that. But it basically solidified in that moment, like, you need to get out of here and you need to go out to nature. And in that instant of walking, I made up my mind, talked to my girlfriend about it like the next day, and we already have our plan to move. So move out to nature somewhere. Granted, it's a ways away, but that was just like one of the huge realizations that came to me. That was awesome. Um, and like, there's some other realizations too. One realization was that I'm gonna cut my hair. So like that's huge for me because I've
Yeah.
been growing this out for probably 4 years now. Um, but I'm gonna donate it to Locks of Love,
Nice.
and yeah, and just cut my hair back. And I'm just like because so I don't know necessarily if I'm depressed or if I was depressed or I just have depressive moments or whatever. But just like anyone, you can get into a funk. And when I was at the come on point of the trip, it was like I was shown like to let go of everything, and like you don't need to rush anything, let everything go, like stop worrying yourself or whatever. And like at the end of the trip, when I was laying on the ground in my kitchen, I was like looking at myself in my phone, and I was like, dude, the reason why, or it's not the entire reason why, but part of the reason why that you have these anxious moments or depressive moments is because you look like this depressed dude. Like I looked like I had a beard, my hair was all mangy, and I was like, dude, you look like a freaking primate. Like, like you look like you would have the mood that you do sometimes. Like it would, So I was like, you were cutting your hair, man. Like it was that simple. I shaved my beard at that night. Like I was like, we're doing these things to get better. Like I'm done living in the past. And like it was weird because when I unplugged my headset and everything, it was like I left the past me. But in that room, I left the past me. You know, um, so that was pretty cool. And
Yeah, man.
that's how I came to the realization of cutting my hair for sure. Um, and then also like another weird thing that happened was uh, like I started just smoking weed again without any problems. Which
Hmm.
the fuck, where did that come from?
Hmm.
Like it just the worry went out, and I think the reason or the idea that I've come to about that I haven't um, the idea that came to that who knows, it's just a short term idea, is like when I used to smoke during that time period of like a year when I used to smoke, it was I wasn't being real with myself that like had these things I needed to work on, right? Like I was scared to acknowledge that I had things to work on. Whereas now when I smoke, I'm letting that out. Like I've told my girlfriend, like, hey, I'm gonna need your help to work on these things. Like we need to find a good therapist, like a psychedelic therapist. There's some in the town I live, so I'm very fortunate in that regard. So like I need help with the integration so that I don't have to come back to this. And I think letting that secret out or whatever was a huge key in enjoying weed again because I would be like tripping about that. Like it was like whenever I smoked, it would be like I got this secret in me and I couldn't get it out type thing. So
Hmm.
I don't know, but that I've been enjoying weed now, like weirdly enough, and that's been really cool. Like it's helped me kind of just calm down and kind of just like get back into reality, like get back into the even keelness of real life,
Yeah.
and kind of like stabilize the trip after being so up and down.
When did you? How long did you wait during the trip to smoke weed, or did you?
I waited until right before I went to the park.
Oh, okay.
So I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna smoke weed and I'm gonna go outside. Like
Yeah.
that's the plan. And it's funny because like I had to walk by like this massive cop precinct, and I'm just like here tripping kind of still, and just like looking around like like homeless person on the ground next to me. It was not a good vibe, but the park was a nice reward for sure.
Oh man. Yeah.
Like people with
That's
speakers and like kids running around. There's a ton of life. It was perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. I mean, and you kind of got the best of both worlds in that trip of the outdoor, even though it was on the tail end, but
Yeah.
the outdoor experience and the indoor, silent darkness kind of thing, or well, not silent, but laying down with music. That's great, man. I'm glad you had that kind of trip. Now,
Same.
um, does as far as going forward, did
Yes.
it leave you wanting to do more, or to be like, I gotta wait a while to do that again? I got stuff to work on. Like how you feeling about future trips?
Yeah. I need to work on that like anger that I didn't know was in me. I think to get to the point where I could even get anywhere new in a trip. Like
Hmm.
I think that is inhibiting me from taking the next step in whatever the psychedelic realm will be.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's making sure I'm someplace where I can scream, you know, like it might
Yeah.
be because of that. Like I
I,
think a lot of that was me stopping the trip. You know, it was like
yeah.
me halting it. Was like I
There,
can't do it. You know.
yeah. Dude, there's a legit field of scream therapy because of that. I think that it
Yeah.
touches that same thing. It's like an an ultimate energy you're holding back at all times, and uh it's anger, but anger creates fear, or fear creates anger. It's probably a back and forth, but that stops you, yeah, from going forward with another trip, or going deeper or letting go more. Uh, it adds to the fear of going over that next hump. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's holding you back. The anger, the fear, both of it. It's like an energy you're holding in it almost makes you too heavy to get over that next hurdle.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, the good thing is like compared to the 5 gram, I was like, I don't need to touch shrooms like ever again. You know, after that experience.
Yeah.
Whereas like this one's like, I almost know the next step.
Yeah.
You know, and like
Yeah.
to get to that next step, I need to do the work now. Where
Yeah.
like and like with how clear it is, it's awesome. And another thing too was like my my vocal cords or like my esophagus during that dentist part were all just like opened so wide like and I've what's crazy is I had a reading done like a couple months ago or whatever. It's like you have to keep using your voice was one of the things that came up. And they, I mean, it's somebody that knew about the podcast, you know, but I've always wanted to. There's just things I've wanted to do with my voice that like I want to learn how to sing. You know, I want to just a different things that I know I need to now work on. Um, and like I don't know what happened there, but like the wind almost like it felt like wind just going out and in at the same time. That was just like, all right, I think that's a sign to do something about it. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy though, and like if anybody's thinking about trying it with the playlist, like I suggest it, but it's extremely intense. It is extremely intense. The guy that developed that playlist is not fucking around, man. He is not fucking around. Like he is trying to get you to go deep,
Yeah.
and it's a good thing. But if you're looking to just get high, it is not. You know,
Yeah.
like if I was just listening to freaking Chance the Rapper and vibing out, I would have had an entirely different experience. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I've even had, like, there's something about tripping to something. So many times that I trip, I'm playing a playlist or an album of something I know and know by heart.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Often the same exact music gets played every time I trip. But when I look back on trips I've had, listening to stuff that you don't know, even if it's instrumental or not, uh, can take on a whole new thing. I mean, going all the way back to my story with, about Skinny Puppy and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
It makes it a whole, like, thing that you just can't even make up, like, if it's even music or not.
yeah,
Like, your brain could be so confused, like, what the fuck is going on? And in that moment, I bet you are tapped into, like, the raw emotional energy that was put into the universe, when that person created that art.
yes,
And like, that's what kind of made me think about what you were saying about, you felt like you were outside the window of the guy that was writing it.
yeah.
It's like when you make art, and we have a channel on the Discord, Universal Vibrations. Think about what that means. It's like, I don't know if you know, about, when they find, like, pots from, like, in archaeological digs,
Yeah, yeah.
and they can, like, run them through, like a record player kind of thing almost, and the grooves made from when they were making the pot, they can, like, somehow, process, the vibrations from that to where, like, the sound in that room thousands of years ago,
Oh,
comes
that's
through from where
crazy.
they're making the pot. But that's a legit thing in the 3D world. I think that same fucking vibe exists in the other dimension that we normally can't perceive unless we're on psychedelics. And so like that's what I kind of was thinking about there when you were saying about that, um being outside that guy's window, is like you weren't, but you were tuned into the energy that existed back then that still exists now. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No, yeah.
That's kind of what I think about that.
Yeah, no, that's honestly probably what it was, man. Like it was just crazy because I've never listened to music like that before, and like I've tripped before with that playlist, and it was like
Yeah.
1.8 grams, and just nowhere near that experience.
Right.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
it was just so powerful, man. Like I said, you could just feel the emotion that this guy felt, and he's conducting a mass of people to create. It's like our best. It's basically what I came to the conclusion is like that type of music is probably one of our best ways to capture and like pass on emotion.
Yeah.
That's probably like one of our best ways of doing it. Like definitely painting and definitely other things like that. But when you listen to that music under some sort of influence, if you're not kind of like tuned into that world like I wasn't before, um, it's just you can feel it, man. It's
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It's yeah, I believe, and not just music, all art
Yeah,
is a way of recording emotions that you can't put into words. Like you could write, which is, I mean, writing's an art too. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, like, a religious text or something like that. Like you can write down things that you want to get passed along from generation to generation.
yeah,
But music transcends even that. It's almost like you could feel that any sort of life in the universe could like listen to music and get that emotion. And like that's what I tap into with music and psychedelics. And and the nitrous, most of the times, like listening to music, tripping, hitting nitrous, and having that kind of dissociative moment of just being in the song. And a 3-minute song lasts for 5 million years.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
in your perception, you get that. That it's like I don't even know what the fuck song this is at this point, but it's perfect kind of thing.
yeah.
And it's where Terrence and Dennis McKenna talk about silent darkness all the time. It's like that is cool, but the music driven darkness is fucking
Yes,
awesome. It's awesome.
yes. Well, I mean, I think the testament for that is like these places that are doing clinical research on it. That's the only thing that they use to influence your experience.
Yeah.
They don't. It's not like they're doing therapy during it. It's not
Yeah.
like they're. It's the only thing they trust to bring about the experience is this music.
Yeah.
So this man's some sort of witch doctor. I'm convinced. Whoever this guy who curated this playlist, like I'm convinced he's tapped into something crazy, like
Yeah.
something powerful. Um, but some comments, just Amy saying that potentially, basically, the throat chakra was opening. I do believe it's something along those lines. Um, and what's the playlist? I'll post a link to it. I'll change the description of this video and I'll post a link to it in a little bit after this. Um, but yeah, man, it was just incredible, dude. Like, do you have any
Yeah.
other questions or anything?
Well, yeah, like I kind of wanted to go back to what you were talking about, the what wanted to make you move. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
the like ugliness or whatever, the other side of your neighborhood. Like, is that something you've been thinking about before, or is it just a completely new realization?
Um,
Because
I
you
guess it
just
was.
recently moved there, right? I mean, not too long ago, right?
I've been here for about a year and 4 months.
Oh, okay.
So I've been here for a while now, largely due to, uh, well, there's a sports team I follow that is a walkable distance away, so that's part of it, no doubt. Unfortunately, I can't enjoy that part of this location this year, but there's that, and then also my girlfriend is in a pre med program that is drivable from where we are, so we're kind of tied down, but we've always fantasized about moving and. Um, we love Colorado, but we know that's kind of further on down the road, I guess we could say. So I guess it's not something that's been on the forefront, but it's definitely been on like the back burner, and it really took that experience of me being out there, seeing cars parked weirdly, and just like shiftiness, the vibe of a shifty vibe, to be like, all right, we need to get out.
Yeah.
It's like it took that to make that get out of the back burner and get to the front burner.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
No,
and
I
then obviously all that tied in with what's going on with the quarantine and
yeah.
major metropolitan area. You can't even enjoy the spoils of living in the area right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't blame, even though, it was on the tail end of your trip, but still
Yeah.
like that, that headspace. I've only being the fucking, uh, redneck kind of, well, not redneck, but country boy that I am, like, being from the Hicks and or the sticks and being a Hick, like that's what I like.
Yeah.
But I've had three tripping in the city experiences. One was in high school before I moved away from the country. And um, I think we've talked about this or whatever. It was in Pittsburgh, but like we got quote unquote mugged while we were tripping.
Oh
Which,
God.
well, yeah, I mean it was scary, but like looking back, it was a stupid situation where like we were leaving like a concert. I can't even remember where we were or why we were in Pittsburgh, but we were staying at my friend's sister's place that she lived there, went to college there, and some guy tried to mug us with a knife, and my one friend just ran, just booked, and it took us a while to find him and stuff. This was pre cell phones,
Yeah.
and my other friend was like arguing with the guy. He was like, "Really, you're mugging us?" And then I was just like
It's a good
scared,
take.
but I also had like $2 and that was it. And so I gave him $2, and my other friend was like, "Fuck you, I'm not giving you anything," and got like aggressive. And then the dude was like, "Fuck y'all motherfuckers anyway," and just like left. And so it was really an aggressive panhandling that resulted in like a tripping mission to go find our friend that had ran a couple blocks away and whatever. But other than that, so that's the first experience I ever had tripping in the city.
Yeah.
The second the second was like after some concert here in Ohio, and like I don't know, it was like, so the first one was like, oh man, I should never live in the city. Like that was what I got out of it. And then the other one wasn't that bad. Like I didn't get like attacked or anything like that, but I went to walk my dog, and it was like I lived in like on the basically the line from like the ghetto and like the college area in Cincinnati. And there was a park near my house, and I was walking to that park, and then like I just saw like all these fucking people on heroin and like
Oh.
sleeping on benches,
Yeah.
and some dude wanted to buy my dog. I'm just out trying to walk my dog, and someone tries to
Yeah.
buy it.
Yeah.
It's kind of fucking weird when you're on some mushrooms. Um,
Even not on mushrooms.
well, yeah, yeah, but it actually wasn't the first time. So I can't say that. That I did get that offer not on mushrooms. It could have been the same person, but regardless, what I came out of that was, you fucking dumbass, you shouldn't live in the city.
Yeah.
And so that was what I got out of that moment. And then the third one was after being married with kids and being living in the suburbs. My wife and I went to Minneapolis for an anniversary, and went and saw Prince's museum and stuff like that. His home and museum. This was after he died.
Yeah.
But I like wanted to stay in like a fancy hotel in Minneapolis, so we were like right downtown, and did mushrooms and tried to walk. We just made it one block around the hotel, and it was fucking weird because it was before like the sun went down, so it was like light out. We don't know where the fuck we are. We're tripping, and there's a lot of people out. Like it's like 8 o'clock at night on a Friday night or something like that. Like there's a lot of people walking around outside, and there was like construction and parts of
Oh yeah.
sidewalks
Yeah.
you couldn't walk on, and cops, and it was so fucking fucked up that we made it one block, and then was like, get back in a fucking hotel. But what I got out of that, like coming down thinking about it, was like, thank God you don't live in the city anymore. Like that's like, so I've gotten 3 messages of like, don't fucking live in the city.
Yeah.
And I props to people that can do it and enjoy it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but I agree with the message that the mushrooms is giving you to like get out in the country, because I
Yes.
think, and here's another thing, a plug for my idea of my land in New York. You can fucking yell as loud as you want out there, and so
Yeah.
like that's like a fucking thing to like be part of the healing that can go on there, is like fucking let it out, man, kind of thing. um you can't do that if you're tripping in the city or suburbs, or having roommates and whatever,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you can't be yelling, and but I think it's a beneficial good thing to explore with the psychedelic realm.
Yeah. Well, and I'm extremely happy to be like from where I am, Like I love that I'm from a gritty, like no bullshit, like don't fuck with me area, Like
Yeah,
I that's always going to be a part of me,
yeah,
but and I love that part of me. But at the same time it's just like and like as a kid I grew up in the suburbs of the city, so going to the city was such an awesome thing, and taking girlfriends there and friends there, like that was all really cool. But it's like when it's time to just like settle down and getting more tuned in with yourself and just like be more at peace, I think the right move for me is to go out to nature.
yeah,
um, like I'm not one to really go out to bars, and I mean I'm solidified in my relationship, so it's like I'm not seeking a partner, or it's kind of the things that are tied in with this with the city I'm not really a part of,
yeah,
so when my only nature option is a park that is uh, you could probably find the square footage of, I don't like that idea. And I still get the most out of it, like the past 2 days I've smoked a little bit and walked there and enjoyed my coffee, and just sit in the grass, and it's awesome. But to have like a
yeah,
yard, or, uh, go somewhere where I can go to the beach frequently and see sunsets like that, the idea of that is just powerful to me. I'm definitely going to be doing that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I think that's psychedelic influence or not. I think that's just the change in the zeitgeist of humanity right now.
I
Is
think
like,
so too.
you don't need to be in a city, man.
Yeah.
Like we've got the internet now,
Yes.
and I think that happens in humanity, though. It's like that's already happened before. Like, uh, Americans were mostly farmers at the turn of the century, and honestly, it was sparked by a pandemic that killed people off. And then we had, coming out of that, the relief of that was the Roaring Twenties, and everyone moved to the cities,
Yeah.
and then the cities started becoming these, huge cultural meccas, and the all the businesses were there, and all the jobs and all the jobs that were lost in the Great Depression. Everyone had to move to the cities to get more jobs, and cities just grew. But I think we've reached a point now, as we enter the information age, that people are going to start moving back to the country. I think you're going to see a lot of people buying farms. You're going to see like fucking communes start up and stuff like that, as people go to get together and buy land.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I really think there's going to be, and I think you mentioned it before the uh, the stream, but uh, the a lot of cities are going to happen like what happened with Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
When all the jobs left and all the money left, what's left over in a city is fucking not nice.
Yes. Yes.
And it'll take a while to come back. And I think there's going to be a lot of cities like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was kind of thinking the same thing. I think that job loss and also no financial aid currently. Um,
Well, yeah,
because who's
I
buying the
mean,
shit that's in the stores? Nobody, you know?
exactly. And who's going to pay, $5,000 rents?
Yes.
Like when people look and they're like, wait, in Cincinnati rents $1,000 a month, like
Yeah.
for 4 bedrooms, and like I'm living in a closet in New York City for $8,000 a month, like fuck.
Yeah.
And I might get coronavirus anytime I leave. Like, why not? People are
Yeah.
gonna get the fuck
Yeah.
out.
One of
They'll
one of
be
the
like,
places that we're looking at, it's like we could get like a house for like it's like a modular home, but like we could get a house for 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom for what we're paying for rent where we are now, and it's
Yeah,
just like
exactly.
what, you know.
Yep.
And it's like
And you'll have the
we aren't
same.
reaping the benefits of the city, so it's like what, there is no
I
reason
know.
to pay this.
Yeah, you'll have the same goddamn internet that you got there that we spend most of our time on. You
Exactly.
know.
Yeah.
You know. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a big change. I think food costs. There's two things that I think are going to happen, and it goes back to what we were talking about with Arceus on the episode with
Yeah.
him. Uh, but you know, already Yelp says that 60% of restaurants in the country are closed for good, temporary
Mm.
closed, like listed as temporary closed. 60%. Most of those are going to be in cities. Well, are people going to be buying that up more? No. So there's going to be less food to eat, more groceries. There's going to be an insane increase in the price of groceries just based on the food availability to people that live in cities. And people are going to move out of cities just for the availability of food, and probably there's going to be a lot, that people that lost their job can't get a job. And they're like, well, I'm going to be a farmer. That's what I think about with, Rich from
Yeah.
the Discord. Like he's not the only one that did that.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be a lot of people that are forced to be like, okay, well, at least we got one job, but maybe the other person can make us more self-sustainable. And that's going to be the change in lifestyle.
Yeah.
You
Well, and
know,
I
and
think everybody's gonna be able to get on with online work. Like that's like all
Mhm.
the operations that need to continue to exist can operate. There's nothing holding that back anymore. Like you don't need in person labor. You know. So
Yeah,
yeah, the time is right. And like
yeah.
I'm
I
not gonna
think
move until May. So because of the school situation, and I'm totally
yeah.
okay with that. I love the winter where I am, but
Well, yeah. Now's not the time to make any drastic moves.
certainly,
Like I mean, unless someone really has to fucking get the fuck out of their shit.
yeah.
But it's like it's more like, all right, now's the time to formulate the plan. And yeah, May's a good time because like that's probably about the time we'll find out who's actually going to be the president for the next 4 years. And but anyway, like that's gonna be a good time to be like, all right, yep, get the fuck out,
Yeah,
and have uh a good landing wherever you do land. Um, so man, I think that's awesome. I think that's a great message that the mushrooms gave you there.
certainly. Yeah, yeah. No, that along with all the stuff I got to work on, it was awesome. Um,
Yep.
one thing I do want to mention, though, I forgot to mention was like when I was coming to my body again, and like the jaw thing happened, and like I kind of was like a baby just crawling until I got to the kitchen floor. Like music kind of showed me how to move. It was weird, but the music I was listening to was like moving my bones involuntarily, and it was like like those old cartoons that are just like skeletons dancing joyfully. It was like that, but I was the
Yeah.
skeleton, and like I understood those
Yeah.
cartoons in that moment. It was so strange, and I have like I used to
Yeah.
be like weirded out by those, and now I'm just like, oh, I gotta check them out on YouTube. Um,
Yeah.
and then also, it was so clutch because for some reason, I don't normally have Gatorade, but I had like 5 Gatorades and I freaking chugged all of them after as I was coming back because I was like, dude, my body just went through hell and back. Like, I need to down
Yeah.
these. Like, I need some sustenance.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, the skeleton part was really weird. Uh, it was cool though. And I scribbled in my book. I was like, this is brilliant. Like make music that moves skeletons. That's what I wrote in my
Yeah.
book.
Yeah. I think that's a one thing about the like above threshold but lower dosages is that your spirit is floating off enough that you're out of your body to like kind of observe it, from the outside angle a
Certainly,
little more,
certainly.
and it's just weird,
Yeah.
I remember on like a 3 gram dose, I think it was, or something. I was like dancing in my room and the ceiling fan was going, and I stuck my hand like accidentally, like was like
Oh,
ah, you know. And at first I was like, ah, but then then I realized like that didn't hurt at all. And then I was like looking at my hand and was like, I I like felt exactly where the bone hit, and I felt like the bone cells like kind of regenerating and stopping the pain. And like it was so fucking weird where I was like, for like a second, I was like, I just broke my hand, and I don't know what did it. Like I didn't recognize there was a fan that did that,
Yeah.
and was like, but then it was just this weird moment of like understanding bones and blood and body immune system healing. Like it was really fucking weird.
Yeah, man. No, it's all weird, dude. Like I think I definitely uh left partially in my body. Like I don't know if I fully left, but I definitely came back into my body. So with for that to happen, I think the leaving of the body had to happen. Um, a weird part actually that has I think happened before was like when I fought leaving the body, um, my calves got so tense. Like I was getting Charlie horses in them, horrible Charlie horses, to the point that they were sore the next 2 days. Uh,
Huh.
which that part was really strange. But when I was doing yoga after it, I was stretching out my calves, and it was just like having gratitude realizations, like crying about all the love I have in my life, and like so I think there was something trapped in those. I don't know. Um,
Huh.
but yeah, that was odd. That was odd. But I do think that I left the body for part of it because I don't think I would have had that experience with the jaw and with like the animation body feeling um, otherwise. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's awesome, man. I'm really glad that you had that experience and you went. I'm glad you pushed it. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I think the Phenibut helped, for sure. But I mean, that's you though.
Yes.
You took that plunge, whether it was softened by Phenibut or not,
Yes.
uh, because it sounds like the perfect amount. It sounds like you had the perfect what you needed, like you said, necessary to where if you would have followed I think your first gut instinct was like, maybe I'll just take 2.5, or I think you had said
Mm-hmm.
in a text or whatever, and it's like, nah, I mean, I could see that, and I think that's one reason I asked, if you were by yourself, where it's like 2.5's a good dose to take with other people, so you don't get too fucking weird
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
whatever. But if you're doing it by yourself, yeah, like, you know, 3.5 grams is great.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna lose control. You're not gonna call 911 and tell them you died. It's going to be intense, like you said, but like at no point will you feel like I'm not in control of this at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It was certainly intense. But I wish there was some way to encapsulate that feeling at the beginning of the trip when you're starting to feel it when you slip out of all the bullshit. Like I wish there was some other
Yeah.
drug that could do that for the whole day, because that should really be
Unfortunately,
amazing.
yeah. Unfortunately, I think it's heroin, but
Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But no, yeah, it definitely sounds like you nailed that threshold. That
Yeah.
is the threshold to aim for. The ladder above that is infinite, but that's the rung you're trying to get to.
Yes.
And
And I think I'll
I
I'll
think
probably take that dose from here on out. Like if I'm trying for an experience similar
eh,
to that, like I think that's
yeah,
going to be the dose.
I yeah, I'd say the dose is only 50% of that equation, though.
True,
It's
true.
like your prep work and really setting that set and setting. Um, you may have been able to take a gram less and almost had as good an experience. I don't know, but yeah, it's like I don't think there's any pressure to be like you got to do 5 grams because that's
Hmm.
what fucking Terrence McKenna says. It's like,
Well, I felt that
nah,
pressure
Nate.
before though.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Me too. And yeah, but an eighth will fucking do you too.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
And like it was
I
cool
mean,
because like those were a product of my labor. So like that
yeah,
was another cool component of it. I don't really think I in the moment was appreciating that, but definitely looking back on it, it was like that's pretty fucking cool, man. You know?
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and two, think about the dose is like the standard. When I was in high school, mushroom dose before there was like internet that you could look up like how much of these I'm supposed to eat. Like the standard thing was uh, you buy an eighth and like three or four dudes split it.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
know, and so it's like that was like the standard like you people be like the caps have more
Potency.
uh magic in them,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever, and whatever. So there wasn't like, this era of weighing everything out and uh, having knowing what strain it is and stuff like that. Um, it's a little different, but everyone always said like, there's a Doug Stanhope quote where he's like, uh, don't 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 split the bag with your buddies and see some of the colors. Eat the whole bag and see God, And so like that's what he's talking about is like an eighth is not supposed to be split. Eat the whole fucking thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
like that's
The
what
first
I take from that.
introduction, of mushrooms to me was um, Kid Cudi, which is split eighth of gram or split an eighth of shrooms just so I could see the universe. And the first dose I took was a half an eighth, with my
Yeah,
buddy.
yeah,
So yeah, but no, I'm happy that I got to the point where I am comfortable taking this dose. Somebody in the comments said I had a five go really well a few times, and yeah, man, we're not trying to like poo poo a 5 gram experience at all. I just wasn't ready for
yeah,
5 gram when I took it. And maybe someday I will be. And people do definitely have accounts of it going really well. I just think that there is the peer pressure from the community, even if it's not even being said outright, but just due to the attention that 5 gram videos get, I'll help find
yeah,
the others, or
yeah,
Terrence McKenna videos, and seeing
yeah,
that is like the way. You want to kind of dispel that rumor a little bit because um, you can have equally crazy or insightful experiences as long as you do the prep work like you were just saying with a lower dose.
yeah, yeah. I mean, every gram of mushrooms is another world,
Yes,
like
yes.
and maybe even every half gram, but every gram is another world. But I think yeah, like just what we kind of mean is that like the 3 gram world is a pretty fucking damn good, important, world that can really change your life,
Yes.
Uh, uh, but yeah, I mean, for me, as far as like doing another 5 gram or above, um, it's gonna be a while. Like we're gonna have to get over this hump of like the fucking down of society and the economy and all that. Like I've just got too much base level anxiety for that to not be difficult, and I'm yeah not ready to have a super difficult. I do think I am ready. Just as an influence from you, like I think yeah 3.2 is gonna be the next dose I do, and I could see that being another time this year.
Certainly, yeah.
Like I always joke about uh, I vote. I like to tell people like I vote third eye party, and they're like, "What the fuck is that?" And I'll be like, "On election day, I just stay home and do acid." But yeah, which I've actually only done once, or but I microdosed shrooms and
Yeah.
didn't vote, but still, I could see doing that actually this year because I'm so opposed to like the politics that are going on and stuff like that. Um, it probably won't work out since it's a Tuesday, but basically, like I could see my trip in around like election time just as like kind of being defiant a little bit. Um, and if I can work it out, definitely like having either my house here to myself or my place up in New York to go by myself and do 3.2 around that time, fall before it gets too cold.
Hmm. And
Um,
dude, if
I
you
think,
tie it up with that playlist, man, shit gets weird. That's all
yeah,
I'm gonna say. Like shit gets
yeah,
weird,
oh
man.
yeah, oh, I bet, yeah.
And
I might be a little too afraid to do the playlist. I might make my own playlist, but
certainly, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that dose is just like is kind of good, like really good where it's at. Like reading the reports. Oh, actually, I think I have it on my phone real quick. Um, but reading the reports about it, how like the after study stuff that they ran on it, how that produced the most positive long term effects was like something I never really heard of. Um, no, I don't have it. I thought I screenshotted it on my phone. Um, but it was cool to see that they're still tracking their participants of these trials for long
Oh
term
yeah,
effects, and not just
yeah,
the immediate 3 months short term. And with that, they've concluded that anything over 3.2 can have a decent chance that there's a bad something bad tied to it, like a traumatic response to it. You know,
yeah.
so
Oh, I mean, well, they'll follow up on that in 20
that's
years
true.
too.
That's true.
I mean that's what Rick Doblin did, and was kind of his rise to fame was, or well, not, I won't say fame, but that was the start of his like career in psychedelic, being a psychedelic therapy figure. Was following up. Well, I think it was like his master's or doctorate thesis or whatever, was following up on the people that were in the Good Friday experiment with
Oh, okay. Yeah,
uh,
Timothy Leary.
Timothy Leary. Yeah, he did like a 20-year or 25-year follow up with them, and they never, that was obviously like one of the first like kind of like structured psychedelic research projects,
Yeah,
and to do a multi-decade follow-up afterwards, and everybody still, I think there was like it was like 95% said that their life was changed forever or whatever, still to that
yeah,
day.
yeah. No doubt. I totally believe that. Um, I was gonna say. Oh, it keeps fleeting my mind. The oh, about taking it again sometime soon. Uh, I think it'll just come to me. Like I have full
Yeah,
faith that it'll come to me. Not in like I'm gonna have a vision and it'll come to me way, but in a way that like I will know that I'm stuck in my bullshit again. Like
yeah,
before this trip and before previous trips before too that you forget about is that it's so easy to get stuck in your own bullshit. Like what the narrative you keep telling yourself day after day, it is so easy to get stuck into that. And this
yeah,
is the way out of that. Like it
yeah,
needs to be clear that if you're stuck in your shit and you think every day is the same and you think there's no meaning to it and all that, like you have your answer. You know what I mean? Like this is it. The only problem is like once that shit starts building up like plaque, you forget what it's like to have it the plaque cleaned. So you
mhm,
need that leap again to kind of remember it, and it's just that cycle.
yeah,
It's another pattern. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know.
Well,
I think I'm just gonna
yeah.
do my best to try to remember. Like I've wrote in my notebook. I think it's the best way to when I'm down on my luck, or not even down on my luck, but down in spirit. And I don't know character traits that were before I tripped that I kind of had realizations on, but things like holding my speech back, like letting my thought get in the way of a good thought, if that makes sense. Like stopping myself
Yeah.
before saying something that could contribute to the conversation um, with family, friends, podcast, whatever. Um, Now that's kind of out of the way for the time being. Like I said, I'm still in the
Yeah.
afterglow, but for the time being, like I feel great right now, and I think that it's something that I've drawn my attention to at least. Whereas I
Hmm.
beforehand I just assumed it was something that I'm stuck with. That I needed to figure out
Yeah.
how to work with. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
That's awesome, man. I mean, it definitely, yeah, like that. It sounds like a trip that will, yeah, bring about some good change for you, man. I'm really excited about that.
yeah, dude. And I'm just like I said earlier, I'm so appreciative of this community and the evolution of how these experiences and medicines are being treated, and like it's so cool because I totally understand if somebody went to the doctor with a story like mine, the doctor would be like, the fuck is wrong with you, man? Like you had psychic dental work? Get the fuck out of here. You're going to the psych ward. We'll get you some psychic work, believe me. Uh, and like now that there is a way of accepting that and being like, okay, what did it tell you? Let's work with it is incredible. And to match all that up, or to like add that, package all that up, is like the fact that I'm in a community right now where I can say all that is just that's like a fucking blessing. It's a weird coincidence.
Yeah. No, that's awesome,
Yeah,
man.
dude.
Yeah. Well, it's getting kind of late here, but we'll probably wrap it up. But man, it's awesome to hear your trip. I know everyone else was probably enjoyed hearing about it, and I know as more episodes unfold, we will unpack more and more of it. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah, no, thanks for telling the story, man, and yeah, we'll just wrap it up from there. But have a good night, and thanks everyone for joining in on the chat.
awesome, man. Have a good one.